Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're just here getting ready for the stream, hitting play. We may or may not have added another VCR feed, which would bring us up to 8 feeds. That is 8 feeds, y'all. It's getting crazy out here, I tell you. But anyways, we have some interesting content for you tonight. So I hope you are ready for some fun. There we are. And I think we are live. Let me check. It looks like we are live. So I want to say thanks everybody for watching. Here we are, back again already so soon. All right, enough yakking. Let's get to the show.
Three miles off Tunisia lies a ship that never finished its ancient voyage. And here, our own journey begins.
Teton Range in Wyoming form the prominent vision for those who visit Grand Teton National Park. Jutting straight to the sky, these jagged peaks overlook
authentic character. All aboard!
The rhea, a South American relative of the ostrich, searches for seeds and grasses on the parched land.
Sand. Yet the sacred beliefs of these ancient peoples can still be brought to light. For deep within Egypt's great pyramids lie hidden treasures, clues to the secrets of immortality. And in Mesopotamia, we can discover the birthplace of the Bible, even perhaps the place of our own creation, an earthly paradise called Eden.
12-acre rocky island in the middle of San Francisco Bay. At that time, Alcatraz was a U.S. military disciplinary prison, closing down for economic reasons. But the Department of Justice decided this was the perfect location to establish a maximum security prison. James A. Johnston, nicknamed Saltwater, a tough disciplinarian with experience at Folsom and San Quentin state prisons, was selected as warden and would reside on the island in the stately 3-story home. Saltwater Johnston was determined to make Alcatraz rigid, impartial, and cold.
It was a punishment prison. It was the apiarist, the long-termer, the incorrigible, the combative. Break them physically, mentally, emotionally.
freight hauling fees from the hordes of stampeders landing daily, now even hourly, at Skagway and Dyea.
Menson Bound has commissioned the former Royal Navy supply ship Millbrook to serve as the dive vessel. And he's recruited an international.
There are really no foothills to speak of, just a dramatic rise to the range of the peaks. 7 of them jump to 12,000 feet.
As the sun's rays pierce the river canopy,
His mummy remains intact, and if his name is remembered, that Ramses will never die. The coffin of the king is closed. Will it remain sealed? Will Ramses live? More than 3,500 years, one of the most enduring cultures of all time. People wanted more. They wished to live forever. And no Egyptian craved immortality more urgently than the pharaohs.
Of those great walls, only these meager ruins remain, including a fragment known as the Broken Tooth. This pile of rubble is one of Merlin's landmarks for finding the wreck. Only one thing is certain about the wreck: its depth. Everything else will be detective work.
Monday, August 12th. Fethy Chalby and I tried to piece...
It helps to get a feel for the history of this place. Human history in this region dates back 12,000 years. In more recent times, several Native American tribes, the Blackfeet, Crow, Gros Ventre, and Shoshone, to name a few, visited the area during the warm months, but the winters were just too cold and harsh for year-round living.
Blasting at Rocky Point consumed over half the total explosives used during construction of the White Pass route. Its solid granite bedrock led some to say Rocky Point would never be reached. About half-mile up the line from Rocky Point, the route parallels the remains of the Brackett wagon road. George Brackett, a former mayor of Minneapolis, improved the original Dead Horse Trail and developed a toll road from Skagway through the forests and onto the pass. Brackett and his road were to cause much anxiety for the railroad developers who feared competition. After parallel development by both road and railway gangs for one season, Brackett's operation, in financial difficulties, was purchased by the railroad.
My father was here in 1897. He had been working on the wagon road. We have 2 letters, one in his own handwriting.
Through the spectacular scenery or a technical climb on an unforgiving wall of rock, it's all here. You should plan to spend at least 2 or 3 days in the park and surrounding area to give yourself enough time to enjoy all it has to offer. We suggest that your first stop in Grand Teton be at either the Moose Visitor Center at the south end or the Coulter Bay Visitor Center on the north end. Ask a ranger at the desk about current activities and services and get some suggestions on what to do and see with the time you have here. Also, make sure you pick up a copy of the park's newspaper, the Teton, for information on park activities. We suggest you request a copy by mail before you make your trip. We'll tell you how to get a copy later in the program. The Moose Visitor Center, located on the Teton Park Road west of Moose Junction, is the park headquarters. It features fur trade exhibits, a permit office for boating and backcountry travel, and publication sales. This is the one center that remains open year-round. While driving through the park, keep an eye out for the many wayside exhibits to visit along the road. Most of the exhibits are located at spectacular scenic viewpoints, and the exhibits tell you a bit about the natural and human history behind the view. And if you have any questions, just ask a ranger. That's what they're there for.
People traveling through Grand Teton National Park will see rangers in automobiles, occasionally on horseback, on foot patrol, in entrance stations and in visitor centers. And we ask people that if they have any questions at all, any problems, any type of assistance that they may.
Construction. Few died in accidents. Most succumbed to diseases such as pneumonia. Upon viewing the enormous granite block, Big Mike Heaney reportedly said, "No railroad workman could expect a finer monument than that."
National parks are because of the wildlife. The draw of the wildlife is something that everyone enjoys, seeing them in their natural areas, not having to go to a zoo to see them. And they're certainly here.
Oh, no, it's just that I wasn't expecting anyone. What are you doing up here?
Looking for you. What are you doing up here in this old lighthouse?
Well, at least it's quiet. I wanted to think.
Don't eat sagebrush.
Worried about that Carnegie Hall thing next month. I wonder if I'm good.
The roads of Yellowstone Park.
One before in my life.
Whereas when you're in Grand Teton, you have to get out of your car and look around.
Searched without success.
Pounding feat given the treacherous mountain terrain and backbreaking labor.
Elk in the Jackson Hole herd spend summers in the park, and about half of them
has an advantage over Cousteau, the global positioning system. As they move away from shore, satellites pinpoint their position within a matter of yards.
Okay, well, from the buoy it'll be about 0.5, so 0.55.
If they succeed in finding the wreck, it'll never be lost again.
We come down on 100 yards. What's your course?
First, they proceed to line up the broken tooth with the bourge.
About 60 meters. Is often said to have been built by the
park, or when you your centers and ask the ranger what you want to know about a specific.
Civic leaders waffled on granting a right-of-way for the tracks. They awakened one morning to the sound of steel striking steel. The gang was in full swing.
Water lovers, because they eat willows, and willows grow in the water areas.
Cell blocks.
Plunder to come.
Gun galleries were armed. Guards cores were not armed to avoid temptation to the. On the northeast side is A block. This area still looks like the old military prison, built in 1912 with soft doors and spiral staircases.
Because they can grow to the size and shape of an apple. During crisis, the federal remain dormant in the ground themselves when the last year's floods dried up.
In official times for looking for wildlife.
The treasures we had seen only in books.
An important milestone of the original construction, 16-mile tunnel, was laboriously blasted day and night.
Climbs until she's far enough above the water for her eggs to flood. She secretes 2 egg-like blobs of sticky mucus.
Heavy snow and biting cold froze fingers and toes, sometimes holding them into shifts of but 1 hour.
The first egg is now counted.
Like passengers throughout its history.
Each egg is sticky protein-based mucus protects it from drying out in the heat and helps to glue the eggs into a cluster.
Testifies to the courage of the workmen.
Some of these plants, those little alpine plants, sometimes take 5, 6, 7, 8 years before they get to a point where they could even bloom.
So please, stay on the trails in this part of the park. It takes years of undisturbed growth for even the first flower to blossom. And one misplaced step sets plant growth back.
Suspended.
We're going to head back, and we're going to go over in the lee of Cap d'Afrique.
Till the weather clears, all they can do is wait.
Alfred Milan, on the wreck in 1907, endured setbacks of his own.
Require advanced reservations. The activities include short hikes.
Achievement for any period of history. This remarkable span of Dead Horse Gulch is nearly 100 years old. As the tour guides will tell you, it's 215 feet from the rails to the bottom of the canyon. In 1955, the WPNYR added another engineering innovation to its long list with the launching of the Clifford J. Rogers, the world's first ship built especially for container cargo. Through the years, the White Pass and Yukon route transportation system has included trains, steamships, planes, trucks, Yukon riverboats, and even horse-drawn sleighs. Remarkable narrow gauge routes in all of North America. Historic civil engineering landmark, sharing company with such marvels as the Eiffel Tower and the Panama Canal.
Visiting it during the day. The area's camping facilities are detailed for you in the Wyoming Vacation Guide put out by the Wyoming Travel Commission. We'll tell you how to get one at the end of the program. Hiking trails vary in difficulty and length, but hikers of all skills, ages, and physical conditions can find a trail to let them enjoy the splendor of this park.
Found the figurines. The divers saw huge cannons.
No, you're not.
Milan said
couches, the ones in the shape of the bull and the tiger, with the inlay of the blue glass still preserved. Nobody had ever seen the likes of that. Even in reliefs or paintings in the tombs, nothing like that.
When King Tut prepared for eternity, he brought with him all the comforts of home. Baskets and pots, toys and cooking utensils, food and weapons, even clay models of servants to wait on him in death as they had in life.
And he's the straight pipe right down, and we talk back and forth with the guy above. It was just like talking on the telephone.
A variety of aquatic plants flourishes in the flood.
See, I had a
This freshwater turtle mainly on apples on the vegetation
having
to
bounces
to
around.
Spends.
So I've been here a few times before, and it always unnerves me to come back in this cell.
I have a feeling. I have feelings for this cell.
From out of the sand, his divers pulled finely crafted statues, ornate candelabra, huge marble vases, and stunning pieces of architecture. Such staggering wealth meant Milan had found no mere freight.
The company's first president, Samuel P. Graves, once said of the rotary crews, "Clearly, it's no place for a weakling. Your oil cups freeze, your feet freeze."
A way to see the nation's parks. In Grand Teton, bicycles are restricted to the roads used by cars. They are not permitted on any trail.
That summer, France had to fight a world war. Milan wrote, continued excavation would lead to more important discoveries. The cost of excavation proved high. A disease known as the bend.
President Tom King ordered a thorough restoration of the remaining rotary snowplow number 1. A restoration that was no easy task.
Well, we had a lot of trouble getting parts for the thing.
Heat into the sky have of course attracted mountaineers.
And the search resumes. Menson limits his own divers to 20 minutes on the bottom. Saturday, August 17th.
Climb the Tetons. Of course, there's some easy climbs, but the ones that are very attractive are the more technical in nature.
The Jenny Lake Ranger Station is the park's center for the climbing activities.
Still more problems. Now it's the engines on the inflatables. The only way to retrieve the divers.
Ride it for years. You feel it too. I mean, after you work on it for a few years, you get the feeling, you know how it rides when it's on the rail, and you know you can pick it up through the floor and the steel of whether you're on the ground or not. If you're not watching for...
Even greater loss. It was the year 550 AD. Of Egyptian civilization. With the Romans come Christianity. The ancient faith in reincarnation and immortality was one last bastion of Egypt's knowledge and beliefs remained.
Now, until the floodwaters subside.
Of Phila.
From anywhere from 5 to 19 days. I was usually in here for 19 days whenever I came in. I had a unique way of passing in time for myself. I would pull a button
and still practice
when I came in.
Promise.
Flip it up. Around.
Only in the...
So I have no idea where I'm at. And then I'm going to get down on my hands and knees and search for the button.
Marsh deer, which have spent the dry season near the permanent.
Very methodically. Oh, everything that you're missing, everything that you've lost comes to bear on you here. You know, you can't escape the fact that I blew my life. I'm lost. I'm here. I'm doing 100 years. I'm never going to see the free world. This is it. This is life.
Between 1934 and 1963, Alcatraz had 4 different wardens, yet living conditions hardly changed over that same period. The average inmate population was 263. They became a very productive workforce in the laundry and the industry shops. They had an inmate orchestra in which Al Capone played tenor banjo for a short while. Telephone calls were not permitted. Mail was censored, and only a small percentage had visitors. To survive,
Now, in water over its head, the fawn has to swim. But it reaches shallow water and escapes. Frustrated, the jaguar moves on. And the mother rejoins her baby. The jaguar is the largest predator in the Pantanal and is
to study and record the remains of ancient Egypt. A year into the French occupation, troops demolishing a wall made a remarkable discovery. They stumbled upon one of the most significant archaeological finds of all time, the Rosetta Stone. Carved into the stone was a key to the lives of the all time. The Rosetta Stone. Carved into the stone was a key to the lives of the ancient Egyptians. Alongside an inscription in the forgotten hieroglyphs was the same message carved in Greek. Because ancient Greek was already known to scholars, it allowed them to decode the language of the pharaohs. Now, thousands of years of ancient Egyptian writings could be translated. After centuries...
And you are responsible for it. Work hard and be careful.
No idea where
lands flood.
And I'm going to get down and search for the button.
Of the conflict.
And you do this very methodically.
The sound of your voice is sweet.
But all the time you're doing
Full
this,
like
you're
the
passing
taste
time.
of date wine.
The fact that you're
And I,
alone with all your own
drunken girl
thoughts.
in a tangle
You know,
of
everything
flowers,
that
live
you're
only-
missing, everything that you've lost comes to bear on you here.
As the water continues to recede, the snail kites arrive from feeding grounds in Argentina.
Another chance discovery, more than a century later, would forever link the lives of
Snails live at the bottom of the channels. The drop in water level makes them more easily accessible.
a place known as the village.
Time of the year, they become an important source of
for that same period. The average inmate population was 263. They became a very productive workforce in the laundry and the industry shops. They had an inmate orchestra in which
Beautiful, magnificent.
The scenery is spectacular. The people in the town of Skagway are incredibly friendly. It's a beautiful place to visit. The railroad is tremendous. It's building some of the most difficult terrain I've seen, and the engineering feat is incredible. The railroad is nothing but first class.
Fantastic experience. Loved it.
Mountain Lodge and the Pelican Bay. And remember,
caravan of ancient pharaohs made its final journey north to
to the gods of the sea.
About 80% of the fish here. And she also got brookies and browns and other fish that...
Ask me, tell me, look. And Zuckerman and Trickerman. It's a wreck. Wow, it's a wreck.
We want to know the precise disposition of every feature on the seabed.
It's time for a closer look.
We are here 3 miles from land, we're 40 meters down, we have strong currents, and we have very mixed visibility.
Before sending down the divers, Menson reminds them of the dangers below.
I don't want anybody coming uncorked on this one. And as for narcosis, the moment that you feel yourself floating off into punchy land, you stop. That's when you come up. And what we don't want are heroes.
Vacation budget here, but it is really worth it. The cost of these trips include all the necessary permits and generally includes food. Bring your sunscreen because the rays can burn you on the river. Reservations are important since the trips are so popular. Contact the park information number at the end of the program for more information. For those of you who plan to run your own float trips, you must register your boat and pay a nominal fee at the Moose or Coulter Bay Visitor Centers. Then free trip permits are required for each individual float trip on the Snake.
Every 15 minutes, right on the job.
But its currents are swift and powerful, and it's cold. Swimming is permitted.
Everything was covered in a...
The White Pass and Yukon route, the celebrated scenic railway of the world. Built of glittering dreams and brute strength by thousands of stampeders during the Klondike Gold Rush. The railway now...
All right, how's everybody doing, eh? How's that going for ya? I hope you're enjoying the show. Oh boy, can you believe it? Can you believe it? There I am. Okay, here we are. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching. We're just gonna hit pause here. Yeah, so, we're in the dark now. But that's okay, because it's alright. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're chugging along here. We're getting some good video jamming accomplished tonight. What else can I say? I'm not sure how many people are actually watching, but I know we are streaming, I believe. And we're about halfway. We're about halfway there, everybody. So I'm gonna stop yapping. I'm gonna stop yapping and just get back to it. All right, let's just get back to it, and why not enjoy a little jam? You know, a little jam.
While the carvings reveal the style, the stone reveals the origin.
Parks that will prove very helpful. United Express and other commercial...
The gay 90s were not all that
The
gay.
morning yard period, the afternoon yard period, Sunday the same thing, morning yard periods, afternoon yard period.
Well, it was probably the biggest time pass.
July 17th, 1897. 5,000.
They had all the books, and they were good bridge players. Some of the guys were excellent bridge players. They knew all the conventions, and
Be your job. Whichever way the datum line is fixed.
Easy. From coast to coast, the cry rang out, "Ho for the Klondike!"
Out. Channels begin to appear as the water drains into them. The fish, which had spread out into the floodplains when the rivers overflowed, now move back into the channels.
Seen across the water, horseback riding, swimming, and
side passage
from the Jackson Lake Lodge area. For a special and secluded vacation at the foot of the Tetons, the Jenny Lake Lodge has it all. The lodge offers cabins and suites with
Brian swims back to the Zodiac to find him, but Morak isn't there. He checks the decompression line. Still no Morak. Then, Brian spots a stream of bubbles below him. Morak is in a daze, almost out of air, and
can be rented at Moose, along with
Fierce competition soon developed to claim freight hauling fees from the hordes of stampeders landing daily, now even hourly, at Skagway and Dyea. When the first boatload of Klondikers splashed ashore on July 26, 1897, they found themselves on a quiet bay in an empty corner at the end of the Inside Passage. By October of that year, just 3 months later, the sprawling boom town of Skagway boasted 6,000 residents, 15...
Stabbed another guy named Man, who we called the dog, 4 or 5 times over here, and put a knife through his face. His tongue was cut off.
Roots of faith.
Ara is the dominant male of the group.
The edge of Mesopotamia in Palestine.
Large incisors can inflict savage wounds.
47 would rivet the world's attention to archaeology and to the Bible.
Get back in for it.
2 Bedouin shepherds are moving a herd of goats along the cliffs of Qumran.
I happened to be standing over here and I watched him go.
In the sun-baked desert,
favorite scenic hike of locals and visitors alike.
Thursday, August 22nd. Benson's wife and fellow archaeologist, Joe, makes a startling discovery. She finds pieces of amphora, the earthenware jars that were the all-purpose containers of their time.
Guy you trust today can be the guy who kills you tomorrow.
Since the time of Jesus.
Well defined to form a vast network.
Into the computer. Now, the team has a complete picture of the wreck. Pieces of a puzzle, or evidence from the scene of a crime.
The railroad would
Show off his columns, bases, capitals, and possibly stones. Usually what they do is they just rough out the form and it's finished when it reaches its destination. So this, I mean, proves that this is from a pillaged site.
His own survey of the White Bass.
Not raw material, but prized craftsmanship. That was the cargo of the Medea vessel. Pillaged from some unknown site, these columns were meant for some unknown destination. These pieces were quarried near Africa.
Listen to me, please.
Made from a Greek site.
I don't usually give people advice,
BC,
but Thomas is dear friend, and I want to ask you to leave him alone. Are you listening to me? You might at least have the politeness to answer.
Raised by Melon.
Ah, that's a nasty laugh you have.
The collection includes
What tricks are you up
works
to
of
now?
art and statues of gods.
Listen
The kind that would adorn a place of worship. Such sacred pieces would never be freely surrendered. And they weren't. Investigators from the Rheinisches Landesmuseum in Bonn, Germany, have discovered several statues were ripped from their pedestals. On a statue of the Greek god Argon are pieces of lead from its base. Lead was also found on the base of the famous Herm of Dionysus, as well as pieces of stone from its pedestal. All the evidence points to one conclusion. This ill-gotten cargo was gained in some ancient act of grand theft.
My father was here in 1897. He had been working on the wagon road. We have 2 letters, one in his own handwriting that he wrote to his parents, my grandparents, one on October 1st, one on
These pages emerges an epic tale of revolution and retribution, of greed, murder, and plunder. Now, the search moves from Mahdia on the coast of Africa to the Greek city of Athens.
The grade used some segments of Brackett's original tollway, and other sections can still be seen from the train.
In 88 BC, Athens is governed by Rome.
Clifton, site of a construction camp in 1898, is named for the hanging rock formation over the North Switch, and provides a wonderful photo opportunity for those at the rear of the train.
Within the Civil War is over, and the general who ended it is marching on Athens. Lucius Cornelius Sulla, brilliant, efficient, and ruthless, even by Roman standards. It's said Sulla follows good beginnings with evil deeds. Athens is surrounded, cut off from help, yet defended by stout walls. For months,
a national park. It is grand indeed. Words just don't work too well when it comes to describing the Tetons rising up from the plains in front of those beautiful lakes. This is the West, the land that stood proud like this for millions of years. The river that seems to tie it all together like a twisting silver ribbon. The spirits of man, the early natives who lived in its wilds, the settlers from the east who tried many times in vain to tame this untamable land.
Following ancient trade routes across modern-day Jordan, Syria, and Iraq to Babylon. In Psalms 137, the Israelites lament, "By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion."
Sulla turned them loose to pillage the city. They ripped artwork and statues right from their bases.
The Israelites entered Babylon in awe of its scope and frenzy. Torn from the modest city of Jerusalem, they beheld the majestic capital of the ancient world.
As work on the railroad commenced, the highly impatient gold seekers feared the line would never be finished.
Ancient world.
More than seeing the Lord
was made at an unheard of speed for the period, a mere 26 months. An astounding feat given the treacherous mountain terrain and back-breaking labor. To simplify the endeavor, the builders specified a narrow gauge.
Babylon are stamped with
standard railroad gauge is 4 feet, 8.5 inches. Narrow gauge has a rail-to-rail width of 3 feet. Other narrow gauge roads had proven their worth in mountainous regions by lowering construction costs while allowing robust freight loads. The tighter turning radius meant fewer cuts when crossing the arduous terrain. The turmoil and general chaos of the stampede left thousands stranded in Skagway, waiting for money or supplies. Many of these were professional men, lured north by thoughts of adventure and riches. These idle doctors and lawyers became the railroad's first laborers. The WP and YR is
coveted. The Roman historian Pliny writes that Sulla meant to take the Greek temple back to Italy to grace a Roman hilltop.
But now he had a problem.
On the outside.
With its legendary hanging gardens, impressive public buildings, and ceremonial walkways, it was a magnificent city. It was here, too, the Bible tells us, that one of antiquity's most extraordinary monuments soared into the sky, the Tower of Babel. Babylon's great monuments made a strong impression on the biblical scribes. But her most enduring legacy, surviving to this day, is a Babylonian innovation far more impressive still, the rule of law. Babylon was the first civilization on Earth to have a written legal code.
Almost 9 feet long, weighs more than 300 pounds, and is probably over 50 years old. All other Cayman give way to him. His teeth have penetrated his nostrils.
Everything from theft to adultery.
It was brought up in an earlier excavation, but for half a century, it lay forgotten in the basement of the Bardo.
Describes it as a land bathed in blood. Today, we call it the and it thrived.
Holds clues to the construction of the Mahdia vessel.
Well, this is another bronze name. It's displaced.
The light?
Yes, this is the bronze.
His command deadliest.
It's missing its point too.
The Cayman.
Hold the ship together. From these fragments, Menson begins the process of rebuilding the Mahdia ship.
Through the soft steel bars of the mat shop.
Symbolized by the royal lion.
38, Thomas Limerick was shot in the head.
Warrior kings.
Bottle Industries built. After he and 2 other inmates killed a guard with a hammer. Limerick died. The other 2 were given extended sentences. 1939, Doc Barker and 4 others sawed through the... made it to the water's edge. Barker was killed. 1941, Kretzer, Shockley, Kyle, and Barkdahl overpowered guards in the mat shop, but surrendered when they were unable to cut through the bars. Shockley and Kretzer would try again later. 1943 saw possibly the first escape attempt that raised serious questions with officials about the security of Alcatraz.
The treasure of Nimrud.
September, and the floodwaters have gone.
2,000 years.
A narrow channel threading its way through the parched landscape.
What did you say? The guy getting spliced?
Drowned by Warden Jones.
Girl's name is Meg Hubbard.
In the caves on the island. But during the initial escape, according to witnesses, as the guard boat
to protect it,
Borman and Brest, a tower guard fatally shot James Borman.
Move me from my tomb. Let his spirit roam in thirst under the bitter rays of the sun, and may the great gods of the other...
In her hold, Sula's men loaded 66 columns weighing 200 tons, along with 30 tons of capitals, bases, and artifacts. A modern rule of thumb is to never load a ship above 2/3 of its capacity.
thousands of stampeders on their way to the Klondike. With little horse savvy and tremendous impatience,
Put to sea.
Bowed ship with its gutload of rock was no flyer. To reach Rome, she'd have had to shove and bludgeon her way across 3 seas, as well as pass through the treacherous Straits of Messina.
The crew faced a journey of 800 miles across mostly uncharted waters, with no instruments of navigation to guide them. To hug the coast till he could cut through the Straits of Messina to Rome. He almost made it. But somewhere en route, something went wrong.
Jewels in the Rocky Mountains, the Teton Range in Wyoming, form the prominent...
With the ship...
The company's first president, Samuel P. Graves, once said of their rotary crews,
with the wind. And the wind was blowing her off
freeze, your feet freeze, and you've been
home. A valley that harbors the twisting Snake River, known throughout the world for raft trips, trout fishing, and sheer beauty.
Among them were Jim Doomer and Sam Shockley.
Early, a group of Mesopotamian tablets were translated. They revealed the earliest known legend of a cataclysmic flood, the world's first written epic. It is the story of the mythic king Gilgamesh. His tale of a great flood predates the Bible's by at least 2,000 years.
For 7 days and 7 nights, the flood had swept over the land, and the huge boat had been tossed about by the storms.
The boat then lands aground on a mountain. He sends out birds, witches.
She was dragged down by her own cargo.
More than 5,000 years ago, the story of the Great Flood was first told here, in the ancient cities of Sumer, Uruk, Eridu, and Ur. In Sumer, we find the first of almost everything that makes us civilized. They invented the wheel, government, and gardening. Sumer, the first civilization on Earth. In a land without stone, they devised mud bricks. And from these simple building blocks, the Sumerians invented the 60-second minute, and even the troubled teenager.
Where did you go?
I didn't go anywhere.
If you didn't go anywhere, why do you idle about?
You know where the rifle is, and you've got everybody trapped in those cells. That's not trying to break up a riot. That's revenge.
With summer waning, the expedition heads home before they face the same storms that sank the Medea ship. Another summer, they'll be back. No one knows what treasures still lie buried under the Mediterranean sands, but Jacques Cousteau's verdict on the Medea ship still rings true.
From rubber raincoats, the night guards were fooled by these dummy heads Morris and the Anglin brothers made from soap.
national park, to the National Park Service.
Let's take a look at the...
They're named after local lakes. One of these, the Lake Emerald, was built in 1883 and actually predates construction of the railroad. Interest in
the city, and it got
travel in family groups.
Many years
so.
They call continuously to keep in contact with each other as they range over large distances, searching the dry land for food.
To prove him wrong, on the very same day, a salesman and an insurance agent from San Francisco swam the same distance in less than an hour.
John Anderson's going
to the west. The tree-ringed lakes at the base of the range amplify the majesty of the Tetons. The mirror-like water reflects the peaks and that beautiful blue sky. All the park lakes, Lee, Jenny, Taggart, Phelps, and Jackson, were formed by melting glacier waters, captured by dams of rock debris.
Killed in an avalanche on Palm Sunday, 1898. Today's adventurers come to climb the Chilkoot Trail, retracing the steps of the Stampeders, toiling up the golden stairs.
You should never have come here, and you'll be doing yourself a favor if you take the first boat back.
Any rehabilitation attempts, a valid concept in the criminal justice system.
Well, before by side for the past 150 years.
Stone, in which they placed the body of the king.
It's only in the past decade that new activities, such as draining the land for crops, pollution of the waterways, and caiman poaching, have posed a threat to the Pantanal.
Pots in their hands.
Together to preserve this irreplaceable heritage.
It never will work. All it's ever going to do is create bitterness, bloodshed, and more hostile.
I still have your letters.
No. If you want to change, like I...
The Blackfeet, Crow, Grove Venture, and Shoshone, to name a few. During Coulter's trip in the long, frigid winter of 1807 and 1808. Mountain men trapped beaver in the area until about 1840, when fashions changed out east, and the beaver hat was, well, just replaced by the silk hat. A permanent settlement of the valley began around 1884, and by 1900, some...
provides the final tantalizing clues. Clues leading us beyond history.
Current version of Alcatraz.
This straight. I'm marrying Meg.
And you get this straight, Tom Stewart. No one will ever have you but me. Help me!
And winter playground that provides something for everyone, whether it's sharing a campfire at a Wyoming dude ranch, a quiet hike through the spectacular scenery, or a technical climb on an unforgiving wall of rock. It's all here. You should plan to spend at least 2 or 3 days in the park and surrounding area to give yourself enough time to enjoy all it has to offer. We suggest that your first stop in Grand Teton be at either the Moose Visitor Center at the south end or the Coulter Bay Visitor Center on the north end. Ask a ranger at the desk about current activities.
What would you say this was?
This one's a good one.
This is a good one?
Yep.
Well, it has a long ride of a nice 81 miles behind steam.
Coming here and being broken, they regarded this as one more.
So,
federal government.
Much water that what is now a desert island bloomed. It was a garden bearing lush fruit. And there were people who apparently led a blessed life. Embalmed at some...
What they're there for.
People traveling through Grand Teton National Park will...
Here in Bahrain, we find the serpent, just as we found it in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and just as we found it in the Bible. Here, faith and reason must part company. We now know there was once an island garden in Mesopotamia. We may choose to believe it was paradise. Egypt and Mesopotamia. A perfect and everlasting life along the Nile. A Garden of Eden. Today, their dreams are preserved in stone and as living tradition. Their beliefs have led us back in time to the dawn of our most sacred mysteries.
And the broken tooth, till they reach a depth of 39 meters, 127 feet.
40 meters, that's climbing.
In practice, it's not so simple.
Okay, that concludes the session for tonight. Thanks for watching. Yeah, you did good. You made it to the end. What can I say? You made it. You made it. So, yeah. Wow. A full hour of jam. I hope you had a good time. Well, I don't know what else to tell you. Keep watching. There will be more to come in the future. We're also working on trying to get on Twitch. Twitch. So without ado, I'm going to let you go now. Further ado, we're going to let you go. And you know how we do it. We're going to end on purple. Because we always end on purple. And, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep fit. And have fun. Have fun.